Okay, can I please welcome Rahma to the stage?
Hi everyone, my name is Rahma Javed, and today I'm going to be talking about what does it mean to inherit a tech organization, and how can you actually work to find the ways that would work for you to effectively inherit this tech organization. So first off, a bit of background about myself. My name is Rahma. I'm not the head of engineering, I'm a director of engineering for the restaurants group at Deliveroo. I focus on helping Deliveroo become the preferred partner of choice for its restaurant partners across the different segments that we're live in, and to effectively derive growth and profitability. So just to give you guys a bit of an overview of what the scope of the restaurants that we deal with 85 different thousand restaurants worldwide. And these are live in 13 different markets that we're available in. And these restaurants are also not all the same. They are along various different cohorts. So you have like something that is very bespoke to a specific area, all the way to a nationwide chain, up to something that is like worldwide, like a KFC or McDonald's. So it is my job and my group's job to be able to provide the right tech to work with these restaurants effectively. I'm originally from Toronto. I did my schooling there at University of Toronto, computer engineering. And before working at Deliveroo here, I was in the Valley. I was leading the financial services area for a fintech startup that's called Wealthfront. And that's where I worked on a loans product as well as a college savings plan. And other than these set of startups, I've also worked at Microsoft, where I started my career, and I've done internships at BlackBerry and IBM. Cool. So what does it actually mean when we say inheriting a tech organization? And more importantly, how exactly is that different from building a tech organization yourself, right? There's a lot of considerations and measures that need to be put in place. And the key thing that actually differs from you inheriting one versus you building one from scratch is choice. When you build one from scratch, you are very picky and choosy of who exactly are you going to be adding to your organization, the set of talents, is this the right person to be adding to the mix? Are they going to evolve my culture in a way that I would like them to? Versus when you're just handed one, you have no choice, right? There's a set of people, some might be right for it, some might not be right for it, right? And you have to handle exactly how you're going to deal with that organization in a very tactful manner. And yeah, you're just going to be given something and you need to actually make sense out of it. And I actually wanted to talk about some of the challenges that I have gone through personally over the years of working. And hopefully those could be learnings for you guys as you work to ever encounter the situation of inheriting a tech organization. Cool. So first off is going to be expectation setting. You need to actually get over the shock factor. Clearly you were hired to do this job because of the fact that you're smart and capable, and it's likely that the organization that you have inherited is probably not the most functional at the moment. It's not rare that you're going to inherit a well-functioning organization, but mostly if you do that, there's probably little opportunity for you to make an impact and for you to make a difference. There's going to be folks who are likely have had you come in because the organization is just not functioning as it should be. So first off, yes, expect chaos, but also be very mindful of the fact that you don't want to be completely either overwhelmed by it or too numb by it. If you are too overwhelmed by it, then you won't be able to effectively work to improve the organization, right? And if you're too numb by it, then you're actually just not going to care enough. So you really need to be able to figure out what is the right set of strategy for you to actually go about it. I would say caring is genuinely very important, but you need to actually care very objectively, care with boundaries, and care very strategically and thoughtfully. You don't want to make sure that you don't get too emotionally tied up into it, because that's going to prevent your ability to make a tough decision when the time comes. So for example, you might find yourself in a large organization that might not have a formal design review process, right? Or that hiring pipeline is just not fit, it's not correct. Again, those are all opportunities, right? It's not about for you to come in and just go like, oh my God, what did I just land myself into? But rather view all those things as opportunities that you can come in and shine, right? Where you can introduce basically like measured practices to help improve that organization. Cool. So the other thing to really realize is the fact that previous success does not translate, right? Every challenge is new and every challenge is different. Just because you were successful before doesn't mean that you will magically be successful now as well. You were successful before because you worked hard and you understood the situation and the landscape that you're in. And you need to apply the same thing here, right? It's not like, oh, I've been working for 20 years and I've led several organizations, so I'm just going to keep on applying the same formula whether it fits it or not. Be very mindful to not fit a square peg in a round hole. Don't come in and then, expect that you're going to be able to just cruise with the title that you have, right? Really try to understand what you're getting yourself into. And it's also important that, you look at every challenge as being different, and every challenge is being very circumstantial and situational, right? You can either apply the same strategy, or you can observe that the themes of strategy that you have learned can be applied in different places across the org, right? And also just the fact that, again, themes of how you're going to apply your strategy is fine, but exactly how you're going to apply them would be different and would be very circumstantial to the situation that you're in right now. Next one, observe and absorb, right? You want to get a good grasp of the landscape before you're able to actually make any moves, right? Think about putting a plan together rather than just getting a few quick wins out of the door, right? It's always easy to make a very few quick wins, but it's very hard to be more thoughtful and see exactly how they are going to translate to a longer term plan, right? Of course, you don't want to be sitting there and doing that for too long. You do want to be making some set of moves there, but you really need to actually figure out what is actually working in a place and what is not working. And again, the set of things that are working in this particular environment might have totally not worked anywhere else but where you have worked before. But they work here, right? So you need to understand why they're working here and probably let them continue working, right? And the other thing is you're also going to be able to identify there's probably going to be 100 things in each category, right? Of things you want to fix, of things that can be improved. It is not wise to go after all of them, right? You need to be able to pick a few and then just go after those and really double down on the impact that you're making rather than being scattered across 10 different of them. Next one, come in with an open mind, right? There's various ways to run an organization. There's various ways to set up a tech group, an engineering team, a design team. There is no one right way to be able to do it, right? And again, don't come in expecting to apply the same formula over and over again. Every single thing is very situational. And again, you might be able to appreciate and realize that a hybrid set of solutions that have worked with you before might just work in this case, right? It's actually very easy, and I've noticed this a few times, very common for people to go into meetings and name drop previous companies, go at so-and-so, this worked really well, and it's so-and-so, we did this, right? That more often than not can actually annoy a lot of people because it makes you look like a very bookish person. It makes you look like someone who will just come in and apply a formula without actually taking into account of what's in front of them. Of course, it's very crucial that you have seen great organizations. You have seen what it means to run a great organization, but also keep in mind the fact that the way that you might solve things here might be completely different to anything that you have ever done before, right? Again, no one will really appreciate anyone coming, especially a leader coming into an organization who just comes in and judges and critiques, right? You need to be very empathetic. You need to appreciate what you have, and you need to appreciate the talents of the people that are around you before you're able to make any changes and moves. Next one, social capital. So what do I mean by social capital? Well, the thing is you were effectively hired to do the role, whether that's you're a management position, your director position, you're a CTO, whatever position that you land yourself into, right? You were hired because people trusted that you could do this role, right? And you were probably hired with a set of social capital. But the thing is, as you make your way through the organization, as you make your way through the changes that you want to make, you're probably going to be burning through that social capital in some degree, right? People are going to be questioning your moves. They're going to be trying to understand why you're doing certain things, why you're getting rid of certain people, right? So you need to make sure that you continue to maintain and build on that social capital, right? Continue to ensure that you have the trust of your management, trust of your peers, trust of your teams, so that you're able to make those changes that you really want to make, right? Again, like a lot of people would come into an organization, have the social capital that they need, have the trust and respect of their peers, but then they start just making certain like questionable moves. And at that point, they don't really care about the fact that like, I'm really burning through a lot of social capital right now. I need to make some changes. I need to do something. So always keep that in mind. And this is going to be an ongoing thing that you will need to work through, right? How can you continue building and maintaining a social capital in the organization that you're in? And as long as you have that, even if you do make certain mistakes, because you're inevitably going to be making mistakes, there's going to be people who have your back, right? You really want to make sure that you don't do things where you're trying out different things and no one has your back, because that's going to put you and back you down into a corner that ideally, that's not an ideal position. Next one, self-awareness. So this is probably important at every different level and every stage of life, but it's also very important to be mindful of your strengths and your weaknesses, right? You need to know exactly what you're good at and what you're not good at, and actually understand the fact that like it's probably not worth it for you to go ahead and ace every single thing that you're not good at, right? You might be better off finding the right set of people or hiring the right set of people who can solve those things, right? Again, like have the confidence that you were hired because you were good, right? Don't try to be on a specific things around proving things to others, right? Like, you've already proven it, you're here. Now you are accountable for the results. So how you achieve those results, it's on to you, right? You can go ahead and probably solve a lot of the problems yourself, or you're better off finding someone else who can help you solve those problems, right? And again, appreciate your own weaknesses, right? Appreciate the fact that I cannot do this well. And I'm human, I can't do every single thing well either, right? But I can probably hire someone, right? And I probably am the right person to figure out who exactly I need to hire to do this well. So yeah, I think I've actually also just seen as an example, in certain cases, and you might have also just heard of it, that if there's a big production outage or big production bugs, a lot of people, especially in the senior leadership field, like to get down to the weeds of it, which is great. But, a CTO debugging a production issue, is probably not very scalable and probably not very wise if the company's anything larger than a few people, right? If the CTO is very hands-on, they're doing day-to-day debugging and coding, fine. But anything that's larger than that, you need to have redundancy in place on all different avenues, right? So again, it's not about not having a growth mindset. It's not about just expecting that these are my certain set of skills and I'm going to keep to those, and everything else I'm going to find someone else to do it. You need to be learning, you need to be growing, but you also need to be very appreciative of the situation that you're in, to be able to figure out exactly how you want to execute and do it in a very thoughtful and a scalable manner. And then hopefully after you've kind of gone through a set of phases and really understood what you've gotten yourself into and what the landscape looked like, you have probably now come up towards a longer term plan of exactly what needs to change for this organization to become what it should become, or what you ideally like it for it to become in the next 6 months, the next 12 months, whatever that may be, right? And again, you might have a very common observation that the leadership is not right at different levels, right? So at that point, it's very important to appreciate and realize that you can help fix that. Instead of going ahead and becoming a leader of a specific team that's not working well, maybe the best thing for you is to hire the right set of leadership, right? It's also very important to appreciate that leadership really needs to be correct at every single level. Just having one top great leader is not going to solve the entire organization organization that has like several different teams into it, right? You also want to make sure that you're actively saying no to things that are just short-term wins and don't actually contribute to your longer-term goals and your longer-term aspirations for the organization. You want to, every day, you need to actually realize that the time that you're spending on doing the short-term wins is time that you're taking away from making a longer-term play, right? And it's that trade-off that you constantly need to be aware of and constantly need to be wary of. And I think it really ties into the self-awareness aspect I talked about earlier, which is the fact that, yes, you can probably do a few of these jobs and you can do them really well, but does that really make sense for you to be able to do it? Are you actually scaling the organization? And likely, if you are the leader of that organization, your core job is to help it scale. Your core job is not to solve all the different problems immediately yourself, but to put in the right set of people who can work towards those, right? And really like lead your organization with the right set of vision and with the right set of challenges. And then finally, once you do come up with your longer term plan, you need to actually figure out who are going to be those people that are going to be helping you achieve that plan, who are going to be the people that might help, like that will be a hindrance to you as you embark on that journey, right? So ideally, I like to categorize those set of folks in 4 different cohorts. So the first one's allies, right? These are all the people who, you have worked to build trust within the organization. You probably have some level of strong collaboration. There's a good amount of synergy that you guys share. And there's probably likely going to be some alignment between your thoughts and their thoughts of exactly how you want to deal with the organization, right? Rarely would you actually ever run into sort of conflict with these set of people, but these are your core people that you have around you, right? The next set of people are like potentials. So these are all people who actually have the potential of becoming your ally one day, right? They still might not be there, but these actually have potential that you can work and invest in. And oftentimes these actually become the best allies that you can ever have, right? And it's also important to figure out the fact that you're never going to inherit a place in which you could either hire someone or have perfect people around you and get rid of everyone else. You're always going to have to find those set of people that you need to actively work on, right? So I always say the potentials pay off a lot of dividends in the future, but you need to be able to identify those people and work with them, right? It's going to be more or less of a give and take relationships there. The next set of people is going to be your silent audience. They're not going to particularly hinder your plans, but they're also not going to be adding any value to them, right? You have to be very thoughtful of how you deal with these set of people. Maybe it's best to actually let them be until you deal with your actual blockers, right? Them existing in the organization is causing no one any harm. And longer term, you probably want to figure out a way to handle them. But at the moment, it might be just better to just leave them as is. And then finally, your blockers. And so, these are folks that you probably absolutely need to get rid of in order to make any meaningful or material change or progress in the direction that you really want to go into, right? These are people who are probably going to be speaking out against you. They're going to be people who are not going to be agreeing with any of the insights or the vision that you have to the organization, and just actively put your plans at risk, right? But you also need to be very careful about the optics of the situation that you're in. And at times you might just have to keep them along for a certain amount of time too until you're ready to get rid of them. But it's very, very important to identify who those blockers are and exactly how you want to deal with them and how quickly you want to get rid of them so you can effectively work on towards your goals. But yeah, I think it's extremely crucial to figure out what set of categories different people fit into, because that will also help you prioritize and help figure out who you're going to be spending the most amount of your time with in the organization. So yeah, with that, that should be all the talk, and open for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahma, Director of Engineering, my bad.
No worries.
Okay, do you know what? I think we've got 2 questions, so if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
So first question, how do you identify which parts of dysfunctional organization require the most urgent attention?
I would actually prioritize that against the business impact. So whichever part of the organization has a lot of business impact and is just not deriving or giving the right set of impact, that's probably a good way to start prioritizing. So.
Cool, thank you. And another question. Are there any personal challenges you face as a woman in a leadership position or as a Muslim woman from an ethnic background?
I think it probably has to do more with gender than ethnicity or religion. And yeah, there is challenges that you do face and stuff. You're effectively in a room where the norm is set by people that don't look like you, don't have the same background as you, and don't have the same gender as you, right? And again, while people can be very thoughtful and accommodating, you never set the rules of the game, right? So you have to come in and you have to follow and play the game with rules that, were just never yours. But I think it's also about looking at exactly what my personal challenges are and work effectively towards solving those with the right set of people. But yeah, I think if I don't have the backing of my leadership, I wouldn't be able to operate in the way that I have. And I probably have been more fortunate to get the right set of peers and leadership around me. But it's not like the challenges didn't exist. So.
Cool, thank you. Another round of applause.
Thank you.